There's an update on Kobe's helicopter crash that killed him and everybody aboard his helicopter.
Heavy sigh.
And by the way, I would encourage you to consider that there was more than just Kobe and his daughter on that helicopter, right? There were other families.
9 others total.
We find out now that the worst thoughts that we had at the time of Kobe's death, which was over a year ago now, were true. The pilot, who was highly experienced, was flying in heavy clouds and fog and got disoriented and thought that he was flying upward when he was actually flying downward. And it was a catastrophic failure in execution by this pilot because he became disoriented in cloud and fog and literally could not see. Like, he essentially was flying in the dark. And he rapidly descended into this hillside in Calabasas. And you just empathize with the people on that helicopter. Put yourself in their seats. The terror and the sheer unknown, but knowing what's about to happen,
knowing you're going to die,
must just be terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it must just be horrendous to know that you are about to fly yourself into a hillside or hit something.
And I think the real thing here, like the hard part to take, is that by all reports, this pilot was not pressured to fly that day. It's not. I mean, by everything that they're coming out with, evidence-wise, and what they figured out, it wasn't as though Kobe or anybody else on that helicopter was like saying, "Hey, you better take us," or like
they were talking about getting town cars.
Just driving up.
Yeah, and they should have, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just I cannot imagine that. There's a lot of ways you guys, and you're probably too young, but I'm sure Mrs. Monty and anybody else that's 40 plus will remember the movies Faces of Death. Do you remember those movies when we were kids? Like, terrifying movies. There's a lot of ways to die. These avalanche stories this week, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, here in Utah, there have been horrendous avalanches.
That is a miserable death.
That is suffocation, which is a way I don't want to die. It's awful. And I think about the stories that we've heard, these deaths from coronavirus, these avalanches where just all of a sudden mountainsides of snow are on you. And they estimate that when you are at the base of a mountain and an avalanche occurs, you have less than 7 seconds to make a decision. And that decision's likely is going to mean you're going to live or die. And these people, a lot of these people that suffocated in these avalanches this week even had their parachutes on. Like, they make parachutes, these essentially airbags, that if you're caught in an avalanche, you can explode an airbag.
Yeah.
And the snow was so much. We've had so little snow in Utah this year. We had a major snow event over the last week that the snow just had nothing to hang on to. There was no base. And it had been so dry that there's no vegetation holding the base.
Yeah.
So all this snow just came down these mountains. And even these airbags did not save people. Several of those people that died in the avalanche had those airbags on. And can you imagine being under thousands of pounds of snow?
No.
In a helicopter where you can't see anything, the pilot thinks he's flying up and he's actually flying down.
I mean, I would rather, to be honest with you, and this is an awful conversation to be having, honestly, but like, I would rather be
to the Monty Show.
In the helicopter than under an avalanche, dude.
Oh yeah, because the hard stop ends it quickly.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine. So I hope this puts to bed the Kobe incident. And now we can get on past that and his family can get closure on that. I mean, it was not a secret. What the National Transportation Safety Board announced yesterday, the NTSB, what they announced was no secret. I think everybody had a pretty good idea of what happened.
Yeah.
That helicopter shouldn't have been flying.
No.
I hope now this brings closure to his wife and his children and his family.
Yeah.
Because this has been, I can't believe it's been a year already.
It's insane. I remember exactly where we were. We were sitting in a store. Mrs. Monty was trying some stuff on, and we were sitting there, and you were like...
We were at Arizona Mills.
You were like, holy crap, Kobe died. Is this real?
Yeah, my phone started blowing up with people. And I was like, stop. I remember, and I won't say his name, but a friend of mine sent me a text and was jabbing me because he knows how much I love the Lakers and Kobe. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me, he said something to the effect of your boy's dead.
Congratulations, but that's bullshit.
Yeah, and I was like, stop, man, that's not. And I was like, that's not funny. And then as soon as I sent that text, I got the ESPN and the Bleacher Report. And I remember that it was a TMZ story who originally broke Kobe's death. So, yeah, I remember exactly where I was when that happened.